Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Monroe County Senior Side Up. I don't know about you, but I'm really excited about this program for a couple of reasons. First of all, we have Cynthia McElvain coming back to talk about the Monroe Aging Consortium and an upcoming Caregiver Summit. And we also have Patti Albert back from the sanctuary at Marian Place. So I'm just excited about that. But another reason is this. I actually got to drive to the studio when we were taping this with my windows down, and that's a first for me for this year. I think the weather is finally broken because I felt broken after this winter. It's been a tough winter. I'm sure you'll agree with me about that. So it's just what a great feeling that we know spring is here. I figured that we still have a snowfall or two in our future. I hope not, but I expect that. But anyway, I really have a great feeling about this program. I want to thank you for tuning in here at Impact Studios. And when we come back, we'll be here with our first guest, Cynthia McElvain.
It's human nature to plan ahead, but sometimes our best ideas come when there's no plan at all. When we just go with the flow and let the day unfold as it was meant to be. A day on the water, soaking up the sun. A day we leave up in the air. Yesterday, this was just a last-minute idea. Today, our big surprise is Pure Michigan. Your trip begins at michigan.org.
Welcome back, folks. You know, I really love those Pure Michigan commercials that we get to run. It just reminds us what a wonderful, beautiful state that we live in. And again, I'm just feeling upbeat because I know that with the weather finally breaking, and like my voice there, that in fact we're into the better weather, and I'm looking forward to all the springtime and summertime activities. And so we'll keep that for a later time so we can get to our first guest. As I promised in the opening of the show, we have Cynthia McElvain here from the Monroe Aging Consortium. And Cynthia, this is your second time on the program.
It is, Joe. I was, I think, on your first program.
You were. I had my boss, William Nichols, our elected prosecutor, and then you got to be our second guest. And Cynthia, I think at that time you thought it was going to be a radio format.
I did. I was very surprised.
But as it turns out, see, you did fine. And obviously we didn't scare you off because you're back. I'm so glad that you're here. Cynthia serves with me with a number of other very good people on the Elder Justice Committee. And so we get to talk about upcoming shows. And at our recent meeting, we were looking for guests. And I was so grateful that you and Patti Albert volunteered. So I know we have a really cool Caregiver Summit coming up again. And let's talk a little bit about that.
We do have a Caregiver Summit coming up again, a Caregiver Summit, excuse me. The date is Wednesday, May 14th, and it will be from 4 to 7:30 p.m. at Leroy's Hall. The address is 12375 South Telegraph Road in LaSalle, Michigan. If you're interested, we do need you to register by May 5th. The telephone number to call is 734-240-3290. There will be a presentation there by Jill Gaffner. And Jill is actually, has written a book and has been a caregiver herself, so she comes from great experience in being able to discuss the challenges of caregiving. And that's one of the reasons these summits are put on, so that people that are in that position, they can get some support, get some ideas on how to make that process easier, and a lot of great information in the process. Dinner will be served. There will be various vendors there, various exhibits. You'll get a chance to meet the author, who again is Jill Gaffner, and she's going to do a book signing. There'll be door prizes, and it's a great event. It's a chance to network with other people. Sometimes more is caught than taught, and just sitting at a table with other people in your position can sometimes be, beneficial from the standpoint of what are you doing to get through this process.
And so for those people that won't be accessing the flyer necessarily, maybe they won't tune into our show. First of all, shame on them for not tuning into the show, but to the extent they don't, where else do you hope to advertise this event?
There also is going to be an email address, which is mccoa@monroemichigan.org. So you can sign up online if you choose to, but there's going to be obviously there's a number of vendors there that can help you as far as trying to figure out how to navigate these waters.
Do you think the vendors might have some of these flyers as well so people can pick that up from them?
I would guess they would. I don't know that for sure, but I'm sure they'll be posted throughout the community. And if they don't see the show, there's also, I know I run a caregiver support group, and it'll be something that I'll be talking to those folks about and have been talking to them about. So there's a different different ways you can find out. Again, I'm sure these will be posted throughout the community. So keep your eyes open, look at bulletin boards. And again, the Monroe Commission on Aging will be instrumental. And if you have questions, that's also the number I gave you earlier. You can always call them. That number again is 734-240-3290.
And I was going to ask whose number that was. So you're saying it is the Commission on Aging, which you are a member.
I am.
And whom do you represent on the commission?
I represent District 9. Henry Levens is my commissioner. The county commissioners appoint someone to be a commissioner on aging, and I was his appointee.
Great. And Henry's a good friend. We both belong to the Exchange Club together, so great commissioner.
Yes, he
Very
is.
active.
Yes, he is.
He recently attended our final RSVP luncheon before it's taken under new management, so it was good to see Commissioner Levens there. I know you were there as well, Cynthia, as always, so it's nice to see you there. Now, who really gets the credit? I know we have a number of sponsors for the Caregiver Summit. Who's really the driving force? Is it the Commission on Aging? Is it the Monroe Aging Consortium? Who gets the credit?
I think there's a lot of people involved. Patti, who will be on next, actually was a part of the committee that put this together, and it's a tremendous amount of work. I think that most people never realize the number of hours and commitment it takes to perform one of these functions. But then the Commission on Aging also is, again, they're taking the reservation. So it's a number of people involved to make it a successful event. And again, one of the things about Monroe County that I've always been so proud to be a part of this many different organizations is that we do care about our seniors. We have a deep commitment. The Commission on Aging, and people will tell you when you go to other counties, there aren't the senior services in other counties that we have here in Monroe County because of the funding from the good taxpayers of Monroe County. So this again is something, it's a way to reach out and make sure that caregivers and the people they're caring for get what support can be found and given. And Monroe County is absolutely one of the very best places ever to live as far as giving that support.
And I know a lot of caregivers turn out to be family members, and family members are very generous with their time. Certainly out of love, they want to take care of their relatives. And I think sometimes going in, they have this optimism that I can do it. And you probably can for days and weeks, and pretty soon though, that starts to add up, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And I think the Caregiver Summit is going to, something to reach out to them to let them know that they're not alone.
Exactly.
And that there's ways to get respite, and there's ways to make sure that you take care of yourself, because you're so vital to someone else that may need you that you really need to take care of yourself. How many times have you seen that? Someone takes care of someone, and even after someone has passed, you look at the toll that it's taken on the caregiver, and it can be quite significant.
It is significant, and that's an excellent point. It's been, recently there was a study done, and they found that the most stressful of all occupations is that of the caregiver. And I recently, until recently, I worked with families in helping placement. And one of the things I saw repeatedly was that caregivers went down before the care receiver. I can't tell you how many times a family would come into my office and a spouse would say, well, it's just not quite time yet. And then I would find they had been hospitalized. And I would say to the adult children, now instead of having one problem, you have two. So there are resources out there. You know, get some help in the home. If it is time for placement, there are wonderful organizations, wonderful facilities that can assist with that. But again, I think especially the World War II generation, which in my opinion is one of the greatest generations of all time, those people, they committed for, it was till death do us part. And even in my support group, I have spouses of, of someone that they're caring for. And I had one lady that for years would come and take a nap. That was when she got her rest, was at my support group.
Wow.
So again, there are resources out there, and there's nothing wrong with getting help. What's sad is that when, the caregiver is perking along as well as can be expected, and then the person that's been doing the care is no longer able to do that. That's one of the saddest situations of all. So please come to this event, learn what you can, get the information. There'll be a lot of valuable information handed out at this event. Talk to the people sitting at your table. Everyone has ideas, and get the support and help you need. It is, absolutely essential that if we want to keep people safe and sound, and most people would rather be at home than anywhere else, then get the support and help you need. And when it is time, make the decision before something terrible happens and you don't have the option any longer.
So in the last minute and a half here before our first break, anything that you'd like to say about the groups that you're running? How would someone contact you in order to get into that group?
Well, the Commission on Aging, Jeff McBee is our director, and he's on most of the boards that I'm on. There's the Monroe Aging Consortium, which again is an organization that helps support senior well-being in Monroe County. The Elder Justice Task Force, which of course you're our chairperson. But if you call the Monroe Aging Consortium, you can get information there, and I'm sorry I don't have that contact information, but I do have, as I mentioned earlier, the Commission on Aging. And they are a resource for many different services, all the various providers that, again, the good taxpayers of Monroe County help to support. They are a resource of ways to assist in the process of caregiving. So that might be your best avenue.
So actually, that number you gave us, 734-240-3290, would get you to Jeff McBee, would it not?
It would, or
And-
Vicki, his administrative assistant. And again, they have the resources to help you get the help you may need.
And Jeff, being a part of the consortium, would be able then to connect you with that group as
Exactly,
well.
exactly.
And I had a chance to present to that group a couple months ago down in South County, and I was really impressed with the quality and caliber of people that were there. You know, it's really nice is to see that caliber of people that's really doing the good fight for our seniors.
I agree.
So, well, Cynthia, I want to thank you for being on the program today, and I look forward to maybe getting you back here again, and you could be a third timer.
We'll talk about that.
Well, this has been Cynthia McIlvaine talking about the Caregiver Summit. Again, that's on May 14th at Leroy's Hall. Hope that you'll sign up for that. I think there's a $5 Goodwill
There
donation.
is, at the door, they're asking for a $5 donation.
Great. Well, Cynthia, thank you for being on the program. We'll go to break, and when we come back, we'll be with our very own Patti Albert.
Potential, and just let it be itself. Flowing freely into clean lakes, clear streams, and along more freshwater coastline than any other state in the country. Come realize water's true potential. Dive in to the waters of pure Michigan. Your trip begins at michigan.org.
We're back on the program. Welcome back here to Monroe County Senior Side Up. We just finished another interview with Cynthia McIlvaine, and we're ready for our next guest, Patti Albert. And Patti is involved with the Sanctuary at Marian Place. If you're familiar with where St. Michael's is, downtown Monroe, then you know where Patti's Sanctuary at Marian Place is. And Patti, I remember you were on the show before, and I've always known it as Marian Place. And when I met you, you reminded me that, or maybe told me, that it's known as the Sanctuary at Marian Place.
It is. It's a corporate thing, but it's okay. You know, it's okay that you call it Marian Place, because I think in Monroe County, people do recognize it as Marian Place.
Well, and we as human beings always shorten things. I'm not one of those 24/7 people. I hate that. If something's 7 days a week, all day long, I just say it's 7 days a week. I don't say 24/7. I'm not a fan of that. I will admit, though, that I drive by Marian Place almost every day. And so, you just recently came to the Kiwanis Club of Monroe to talk about it.
I did. I did a presentation there. Sarah Accardo invited me to come, and so I was very pleased to speak to the group. And that was one of those Wednesdays when I think we had an additional 8 inches of snow.
Oh, yeah.
So there was about 23 people that showed up to that meeting, so I was very pleased.
And that's a good turnout right now because our membership's down a little bit. We're always looking for good people to join our service clubs. I belong to the Exchange Club, but I've been a longer time member with our Kiwanis Club, I think, since the early 1980s. In fact, I've been around so long, the last time I checked, I think I'm 5th in seniority.
Oh.
And that was a little alarming, but anyway, I know that there's some wonderful things going on at the Sanctuary at Marian Place, and I know that there might even be some units open up. So let's hear a little bit again about what you have to offer at Marian Place.
Okay. Well, thank you for inviting me here, Joe. I just wanted to put it out there about Marian Place. A lot of the community knows about Marian Place because they do attend St. Michael's, or they're lifetime members, lifetime people in the community, and they've been by Marian Place a million times, and they just wonder what it is. Well, what Marian Place is, it's a senior living community. So you have to be above the age of 55 in order to live there. We have 3 different style apartments. But what makes me unique at Marian Place is that it's an all-inclusive. So what's included in your rent is 3 home-cooked meals every day, all your utilities, cable television. We give our residents a medical alert pendant in case they had an emergency, because we are independent living, so we do go home at night. So we're not there from 6 in the evening till 7 in the morning. So if they did have an issue during the evening, they have the security of that pendant being there for them to push their button, and then that dispatches the EMS. We also include light housekeeping. So once a week, our housekeeper goes in and she'll vacuum their apartment and thoroughly clean their bathroom. But the resident is responsible for doing their own laundry, which we do have laundry facilities on site. They also are responsible for making their own bed and tidying up and dusting and things like that. So it's really a good benefit for someone that, especially in Monroe County, there's a lot of people that are isolated. They've been farmers their whole lives, or they live, because the county's a huge county, so they're not necessarily living in a subdivision where they have a next door neighbor. So many of these seniors are homebound, and they get Meals on Wheels, which is a good option for them. But then the socialization is a huge part. People get depressed, seniors get depressed. They need to be around other people. What's a benefit also for Marian Place is we're all on one level. So some of these older homes are multiple stories, or the laundry room is in the basement. So it puts the senior at risk for going downstairs and doing their laundry, or having to go upstairs every evening to either use the restroom or to go to bed at night.
And when they're eating, I know another nice thing, and you've mentioned this on the show before, but not today, is I know that it's a covered walkway all the way from their living unit to the eating area.
It is. We have enclosed walkways, so it keeps our residents, because they have the option of coming down for meals 3 times a day. We serve breakfast, dinner, and supper. And everything is home cooked by our chef, David. He's been there over 30 years. He does a phenomenal job. So if you want a good home-cooked meal.
He's been there how long?
Over 30 years,
Wow.
going on 31 years.
Wow.
This was a stepping stone job for him, and he never left.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So he has very good relationships with the staff and with the residents as well. And another thing that's very nice about Marian Place is we're a small community. I only have 51 units. So some seniors, it's a very traumatic thing to move for anybody at any age. But if you're leaving your home after 40, 50, 60 years and downsizing, that's a whole nother ball game that people are faced with. But just the being around, the socialization, being around other people, our residents do have to come to the dining room 2 to 3 times a day if they choose to eat all 3 meals, or they can stay in their apartments. We give them a refrigerator. They can bring their own microwave in. So if they go out to a meal with a family and don't feel like coming to the dining room, they can certainly eat in their apartments.
And I have a question for you, because I know the parking's pretty good there.
Mm-hmm.
It looks pretty good. Mm-hmm. So are some of the residents still able to drive, and they can have their cars there?
They can, yes.
Okay.
We have about a half a dozen or so that do have vehicles there. And driving is an issue for seniors. In fact, if we could talk about my upcoming event.
Sure, that'd be a great segue into that.
Yeah. Well, once a month I do marketing events. So I kind of mix it up a little bit. I do a chili cook-off every year. I've had the Detroit Symphony Orchestra at Marian Place. I have had Johnny Ginger there twice. So
I remember Johnny Ginger from my days as a kid.
He is a great entertainer. He's been at Marian Place twice, and I really get a good crowd for that. Yeah. So my event for April is going to be Keeping the Keys. So one of our other communities had done this, and AAA of Michigan sponsors this. So I'm having 1, maybe 2 representatives from the Dearborn area. They're going to come down and they're going to talk to seniors about driving safety tips. So it's very difficult to make that decision to give up your keys, because that's a part of losing your independence. And nobody wants to lose their independence, no matter what your issues are, even though it might be time. It's a very difficult decision. There are some seniors that make that decision for themselves, and the family is very grateful for that, because it's just not another thing that you have to hassle with mom or dad or grandma and grandpa. So I've invited AAA to come in and do this seminar. It's going to be on Wednesday, April 23rd. I'm doing it at 10 in the morning because I feel seniors are more up and alert in the morning, and everyone is welcome to come. So if you have a parent or a loved one, an uncle, a neighbor, or someone that you think, oh, that person really shouldn't be driving, or they also are going to give tips on when is it time, to give up those keys. So it's a very good thing, not only for our seniors, but also for family members that are dealing with mom or dad still driving.
And they'll need to RSVP for this event, is that correct?
Yes, yes. The phone number for Marian Place is 734-241-2414.
Okay,
So
and if they call that in, just so that you can get a pretty good head count, who's going to appear for that?
Yeah, yes. I'm going to be serving light refreshments that morning, so I typically get 30 to 40 people to come to my event. Sometimes there's 60, so it's a good idea to call the RSVP.
Now, for folks that are involved with law enforcement, there's a form that we know as OC-88, and it's a referral form if you think there's someone that needs to be referred to the Secretary of State to have their driving privileges assessed. And the purpose of that is to allow them to go to the Secretary of State, and then the Secretary of State might make a decision to take action on their license. And you never want to do that. We don't take that decision very lightly because it's a serious referral.
Yes.
And I know that's so tough for people because they equate their freedom with that. And their independence, there's no doubt about that. Now, unfortunately, as I understand it, the Secretary of State, due to the budget cuts that we've all experienced and endured these last several years, they moved that testing ground to, I think, Livonia or Lincoln Park. I'm not sure. It's one of the communities downriver. And then I always thought that was part of the test. If you could get to Livonia or Lincoln Park, wherever it was that they wanted you to get to from Monroe, maybe that was part of it. I don't know. But there's that involved. There is that inconvenience. And so I'm glad to see you do that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something they could replicate in other parts of the county.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be a very well-attended event, and it's very informative for me because I talk to families on the phone 20 times a day, sometimes more, and they call and say, my dad's driving or my mom is driving, and I just had this family member call. Well, I don't know this family, but they had called in and said, Dad lives out in the country, and he went to get his keys, and they fell on the ground, and then he bent down to get them, and he fell and slipped on the ice, and so now he ended up with pneumonia. So so it's a very scary thing, but I think education is the key to a lot of this for our seniors.
So that number again, 241-2414. If so, that's the same number they would use to contact you to see if there's any vacancy in any of the units at the sanctuary at Marian Place.
Yes.
And do you have any vacancies at this moment?
I have an apartment coming up in about a week. We are in the process of renovating it, and as our residents move out, we've been going in and updating the apartments. So again, I have 3 different styles. So what we're doing is replacing the carpeting, and we are painting the apartment, and we're gutting the bathrooms, putting new toilets and sinks. Another thing that is very good for our seniors is they have their own private bathroom and their own closet, because it's a landlord-tenant relationship. So when I interview these families, I want to make sure it's going to be a good fit for them. I certainly don't want to move somebody in that has dementia, that wanders, because we do go home at night and we're not there to watch them. But we do help them during the day if they need different things, little minor things.
And I can attest to how quaint and how clean the facility is. Several years ago, my aunt, before we moved her into a nursing home, because sometimes that happens, it was a very quaint location. It was very nice.
Yes.
And I know it's still a big change for our seniors or those that feel that need to move into a facility like that. But very clean, it had a very nice appeal to it.
Well, about maybe 2 to 3 years ago, we got a kind of a little grant, if you will. We got $40,000, and so we were able to buy new furniture for our community room, which some people call it the multi-purpose room. So our residents come there and they hang out during the day. We've got a big flat screen TV in there. There's a pool table. We play cards in there. There's different events that I throw in there, and we also have a bus. So we take our residents on kind of day trips. We go shopping on Mondays. We go to a couple of mud hen games during the year. We also go to Frankenmuth. So our Marian Place bus is only used for pleasure. It's not used for taking families to the doctor. So they can use LET, Lake Erie Transit, for that, or they can call a family member.
Well, fantastic. Patti, it's been good to have you on the program again. I'll tell you what, we look forward to having you back again, because I'm always glad to hear good things about Marian Place.
Yeah, give me a call. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll be right back.
Once we were dreamers, Adventurers set out to discover new lands, new people, new ways. Once we were great explorers in search of hidden treasure, secret hideouts, magic lands. The treasure is still here and waiting to inspire a new generation of dreamers. Come uncover the riches and bounty of pure Michigan. Your trip begins at michigan.org.
Well, welcome back. It's been another great program here at the Impact Studios for Monroe County Senior Side Up. I want to thank our guests today, Cynthia McIlvaine and Patti Albert. Both serve on the Elder Justice Committee, along with part of our camera crew. Deb Briscoe is behind camera number 3 right now. And this has been our opportunity to remind you of the great things happening at the Sanctuary at Marian Place, as well as to remind you that Monroe County has its annual Caregiver Summit coming up at Leroy's Hall on Wednesday, May 14th, 2014. And that number again to call to register is 240-3290. You'll be reaching the Commission on Aging when you dial that number, and we hope to see you there. Lots of good people going to be there, lots of great support, a lot of great vendors from the area to show you what they have to help those caregivers that do so many wonderful things for the people that they help, family, friends, strangers alike. So please consider coming to the Caregiver Summit. My name is Joseph Costell, Chief Assistant Prosecutor. I want to thank you for tuning again here at the Monroe County Senior Side Up Show. And we air on Sundays at 4 o'clock p.m. and Mondays at 11 o'clock a.m. on both of the major cable providers here in Monroe County. We hope that you'll have a great week, and we encourage you to tune in each and every month as we have a new program for you. And I think spring's finally here, folks, and as we tape this today, the Detroit Tigers are playing opening day, and by the time you hear this, we'll know the outcome of that. And as you can see, I didn't get to go to the game, but I was here with you, and I like that just fine. We'll see you next month.